Hey everyone, it is Dr. Sharifa Clark. Thank you for coming and checking out my channel. Today we're going to talk about things you need to do to move across country. This is kind of a continuation of the last video where we talked about the why of why you're deciding to move, and we talked about finding where you're going to move to. So now today I'm breaking it down into steps you need to take before you're moving, while you're moving, and all those things. There's so much things that needs to be done. And I made a list and I kept on checking my list multiple times and going through it. And even then, there were hiccups along the way, but because I stayed organized and was working on it and it was not last minute, everything still worked out really, really good. And I didn't have a hard issue or a hard time moving or things like that. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Well, before we jump right in, please go ahead and like my page. Like this video, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and please share this video. If you know of anyone who's planning on moving, if you know anyone who probably moved and did it the wrong way and plan on moving again, share it for them and just spread the word out there. So yes, let's go ahead and dive right in. And forgive me if I keep looking off to one side. It's just this camera's really weird and I'm trying to look straight at it, and it'd make me look to whatever side sometimes. But yeah, so forgive me. I'm not trying to not look directly at the camera, okay? All right, so I have my notes here. So if I'm looking down, that's what I'm looking down for. Okay, so now the first thing with moving, probably one of the most important things, it is to save. I cannot say this enough. I cannot say this enough. It is so important that you save prior to moving. Now, again, I'm not talking to you people who are moving where a company is moving you and they're probably going to cover your expenses and all that. I'm talking about people who are moving who may not necessarily have a company covering all their expenses to move. So when you're saving, these are the things. Now I can't tell you how much money physically you need to save, because only you will know that. But what you need to do, you need to create a budget based off of this list of things that I'm about to mention. And again, there might be other things that may be more pertinent or more important to you in addition that you may need to add to this list. But this is just a basic list of things that you need to consider when you're starting your saving process. And from there, you will create your list based on your own expenses, based on your own need. And you'll be able to have a budget in mind after you create this list. So here are some things you're going to need to think about, or what you're going to be saving for. You're going to be saving for moving your actual items. If you have things that you're moving and you're going to use some kind of moving truck or moving service or something like that, you need to pay them. They don't do it for free. Okay. So you need to consider that when you're moving. Moving your car. How are you going to move your car there? If you're not going to drive it, or even if you're going to drive it, you're going to have to think about gas and possibly overnight hotel, depending on how far you're going to be driving to and all that. So actually moving your car, what are going to be the expenses associated with getting your car from point A to point B? So where you're going to live, anywhere that you're going to live. So let's say you're moving into an apartment or something like that, where you're going to be renting, whether you're renting an apartment or renting a home. You're going to have a deposit. You're going to have application fee. Sometimes you're going to have administration fee. And now a deposit could be as low as a few $100s. Let's say a deposit could be as low as, let's say, $150 up to 1 month's rent, whatever that may be for that apartment. So you're going to need to have some kind of deposit. Some places, they're going to also want you to put down first month and last month's rent. And it just depends on where you're going, who you're renting from. So these are all the things that you need to take into consideration as far as finding a place. Now, let's say you're purchasing a home. Anyone who's purchasing a home, that's a whole other thing. Because I have purchased a home before, and now you're going to definitely need more than a few $1,000s as far as deposits. You're going to need several $1,000s. You're going to need a certain percentage of what the cost of the house is, which is a whole other thing. So if you're purchasing a home, I'm pretty sure you're working with a realtor, and they will advise you as to how much money you're going to need for your deposit, your closing costs, and all of that. Well, not your deposit, but how much money down and your closing costs and all of that. So outside of a deposit for the apartment and all those, and the first month's rent, last month's rent, administration fees, application fees. Now, when you move, I mean, unless where you're moving to is giving you free electricity, water, internet, and cable, and all that stuff, you're probably gonna need, depending, you may need an electricity deposit. Again, depending, you may need a water deposit. Depending, you may need gas deposit. And you may need to pay some upfront costs with installations of internet cable. So these are all costs you got to think about. And these are just the deposits or the upfront costs. This has nothing to do with those monthly bills associated with that. So you need to think about all these possible deposits that you may have to pay depending on where you're planning on moving to. And then you also have all your regular bills. So before you move, you have bills that you're paying outside of living expenses, whether it is student loan, cell phone bill, life insurance, health insurance, car note, credit card bills, child support. Not judging. Whatever bills you have these bills, and those bills are not going to stop once you move somewhere else. So now you need to also have money to pay bills for a period of time after your move. So let's say you're moving and you already have a job offer, and let's say the job isn't necessarily paid for your move. So now you still need to have money. I believe that even if you're moving and you already have a job, you still need to have a certain amount of months of bills money saved up, because anything could happen. So you need to always have some backup money. Now, personally, I believe you need to have a minimum of 3 months of bill money. So when I said 3 months of bill money, so all of your bills that you already paying before you move, plus rent, plus this new electricity that you got, plus this new water you got, plus this cable, internet, gas. So you need to have 3 months of bills money. So the bills that you've been paying before you move, plus all the bills associated with your new place. So at a minimum of 3 months if you already have a job. That's just my opinion. You could rough it and tough it and don't have no extra money back up, but that's your business. I like to be safe than sorry. So at least 3 months, or at least a minimum 2 months. 2 to 3 months of bill money on deck. Now, let's say you are moving and you don't have no job. You were like, I'm making this move and I'm going to find a job once I get there. Now, if that's what you're going to do, you need to have 6 months of bill money at the minimum. 6 months. If you're moving and you have no job in store, you need to have 6 months of bill money. Can I say that again? 6 months of bill money. Because you not trying to move and be homeless because you ain't getting no job and you didn't have enough money saved. That's not cute. That's not hot. That's not where you want to be. So definitely 6 months of bill money if you do not have a job, and at least 2 to 3 months if you do already have a job where you're moving to. Okay. Now, so let's go ahead and break some of these things down. Let's say, so now you're moving your things. So some people, they're free spirits. They're like, I'm just going to get rid of everything. I'm just going to move with the clothes that I have and put them in a suitcase, and that's it. If you're doing that, you don't have a lot to move with. However, if you are a person like me who actually has things that needs to go from point A to point B, which is for me from Florida to Texas, you need to have some form of move-in service. So, all right. So I researched so many different possible types of move-in service. So I thought about utilizing, like, let's say a U-Haul, where it's a U-Haul where you rent the truck, you drive it. Well, I wasn't going to drive. My dad was going to drive it. Ain't nobody got time to be driving 20 hours or whatever. But you drive it, and you load it and unload it. So companies will be would be like U-Haul, Penske, Budget. Those are those 3 companies that you can move across the country or across your state or whatever, and you'd be able to pick the truck up in one location, have it for a certain amount of days, and drop it off. Generally, they give you they look at how far you're driving to. Like, so basically when I was checking them out, and I did reserve all 3 companies. I reserved a trip with all 3 companies at one time because I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and I just wanted to make sure I had all my bases covered. covered. So from moving from Dallas, from Fort Lauderdale to Dallas, they gave each company, it was about 7 days that they allowed me to have the truck for, from the day I picked it up, a few days to drive, a few days to unload, and to bring it back, which 7 days was more than enough for a cross-country move from Florida to Texas. So those are moving company options. So with those, you have to drive it, or you have to have somebody you know to drive it. You have to load it and unload it yourself, or you got to hire a mover to load it and unload it, however you want to do it. Then they have moving companies. These are people who you hire and they come and move your things. Now, I consider this option, and honestly, almost to like the very last moment, I promise you, like up until 2 weeks before, this is what I was going to use one of those moving companies, and then something in my spirit said no, and then I switched, and I'll tell you what I switched to in a moment. So these moving companies, they're gonna do either what we call a direct move, where it's a moving company. They come out, they analyze how much stuff you have, they count it all up, they check about how many boxes you're going to have, how much pieces of furniture, the kind of furniture. I mean, they count everything. So the downfall to a company like this is, if on the day of moving you done brought some extra stuff, they're going to add to the cost that they initially gave you, the quote that they initially gave you. If you have more things, they're going to add to the quote. And if you have less things, they're supposed to take away from the quote, but you already know these folks is not trying to lose no money, so they probably won't take off that much. But I promise you, if they have to add, they're going to add a whole lot. Then they also have fees. If you have to go upstairs, they have an additional fee. If they have to park the truck, how much feet away from the building, that's an additional fee. Once you get in the building, if they have to go a certain amount of steps to get to your unit, that's an additional fee. So they have all these different fee. And as it got close to the time, and I looked at a lot of reviews, and that's another thing, you need to look at a lot of reviews, YouTube reviews on different companies, reviews of these companies, people who have used them. It's best if you hear from somebody who's already experienced them. So when it was all said and done, they quoted me a price, and the price was overall somewhat fair or whatever. But then I thought about all these possible fees, and I thought about where I was living. I was like, they're going to have to park the truck here. They have to go take the elevator and have to walk all. I'm like, that's a lot of additional walking. I'm like, man, I may accrue all these fees. I'm like, I don't want to. So that's a direct moving company, where they take all your stuff and move from point A to point B. Now, there's two different kind of direct moves. There's one where the truck, they pick up your stuff from point A, and within a couple of days, 2-3 days, they bring it to point B, which is wherever you're moving to. And they load it, unload it, put it where you want, and all that, and it's all included in whatever fee you pay. Or they also have an indirect moving company where, again, they pick up your stuff, but they're picking up other people's stuff along the way. So you might not get your stuff for like maybe like a week from the time they pick it up, or something, or a week, or almost 2 weeks from the time they picked it up. So you have a direct move where it's only your stuff they're transporting in that truck, or indirect move where they're transporting your things plus maybe 1 or 2 other people things. Where with those companies, they come to your house and pick up your stuff, they bring it to their warehouse, and then they unload it into their bigger truck in a section. With that, there's chance of your stuff getting lost, and somebody like, it's just so much very variables with that, which is why I was like, you know what, when I really thought about it, and I thought about all those additional fees and things, I was like, yeah, I decided to find a different method, which lead me to the containers. Containers are like companies like Pods, Zippity Shell, U-Pack. Those are your container moves where they drop it off and you pack it up yourself. You put your own locks on it, and then they pick it up and bring it to where they need to bring it. And that's what I went with. And the actual company I used was U-Pack. U-Pack was, I'm going to actually do an independent U-Pack review one day here on YouTube, probably within the next few weeks or whatnot. But overall, I was completely pleased with U-Pack. They dropped it off. I hired movers to pack it up, because I wasn't trying to do all that. I hired movers to pack it up, and they dropped it off at my location here. And I hired movers to unload it. So that worked out really well, and it worked out way cheaper than that moving company that I had booked. And keep in mind, the moving company that I had booked was the cheapest one I had found out of all those moving companies. And I checked out a lot. I researched a lot, and I still saved over $800 by utilizing U-Pack versus one of those direct moving companies, because, and I'm talking about $800 overall between moving my things. Even though I hired movers to load and unload, I still saved $800. So if I would ever move again, or anyone who I tell is moving, I would recommend them to definitely utilize U-Pack or one of those container companies. All right. Now, moving your car. How's your car going to get from point A to point B? So with moving your car, let's say if you're going to use like a U-Haul or Budget or Penske truck, that's pretty simple. All you do is when you rent the truck, you also get a car dolly, and you attach your car to it, and you move, and you put your car on it, and you can move with it. Simple enough. Now, for a person like me who utilize U-Pack, I utilize U-Pack, and I flew, which is another cost. You have to calculate flying or airplane tickets. And I flew here to Texas, and what I did was I used an auto shipper for my car. So I did a lot of research with different auto shipper companies, and I found one that was really reasonable, and I shipped my car with them. So, and again, I think I'm gonna go into a review and talk a little bit more about like different auto shipping companies and things like that. You could have a closed auto shipper where your car is covered up, or you could have it open, which I had open because it was cheaper, and I got it. My car was in perfect shape. There was no issues. It was a little bit dirty, but I mean, it's a little bit of dirt. Just go ahead and run it through the little car wash, and you're good to go. So I used that, and again, that was a very reasonable thing to do. Now, finding a place. So when I started my journey of like, decided to move, and I knew I was moving to Dallas, and I was just so excited. So I checked, I was looking at rent.com, apartment.com, all these different websites. And then I found this place, this website called Apartment List. Apartment List was a company, or is a company, where you put in the area that you're moving to, and you put in the amenities that you would want in a place. So, and you put in your budget, which is a really good thing. So you put in your amenities. If you wanted to, you could put in school levels. I didn't have any kids, so all that didn't matter to me. So they populate a list of places that is in your budget, and they show you different lists. So the first list is going to meet your exact needs. It's going to be within your budget, and it's going to have all the amenities that you requested and in those areas that you want. Then they have other lists. Other lists is going to have, okay, so it may not have all the amenities that you want, but it's in the budget that you want. Or another list may not have the budget that you want, but it has all the amenities, and it might be a little bit higher. Or it will be a place where it has all the amenities, it's in your budget, but you may have to live a little bit further away from your central search city. So they give you all these different options to choose from. And from that list, I actually did go out when I came here and visited one of the first times. And I went and looked at some of these apartments that I looked up. And when you click on the apartments, they have video, they have pictures of the units, they have layouts, and they're monitoring it on a daily basis throughout the day. So if the price for units in those apartments go up or go down, they update. It's always updated like within every few hours throughout the day, so that you have the most accurate pricing for those apartments. And that's what I really liked about it. It tells you about the school district on the apartment list. It tells you about that apartment's deposit. If that apartment is running any kind of specials, it tells you about it. So, I mean, it's a really, really good place for you to really try to find the places that you want to live. And like I said, I visited a few places with that. But then I thought about it after. I was like, you know what? I money. There's a realtor in this area, and try to find a realtor, use a realtor. So I found a realtor, a really great realtor, who was able to find me an apartment, find me, okay, this realtor was great. It's good to use realtors in local, because he's a realtor who also sells homes also, but he also finds rentals for persons who looking for rentals. And, I gave him what I wanted, like pretty much like apartments. I told him the things that I wanted, areas I wanted to live in. And he sent me like a list of units, and it had all the qualities or places I wanted to live. And if I didn't like certain things, he always kept on finding apartments that I would like in those list of things. So he was very, very, really good with that. And again, I gave him a budget. And that's how I found where I'm living now. It was through a realtor. And that realtor name, I'm going to go ahead and give him a straight shout out. And I'm actually going to link his real estate page, or his real estate. He has a YouTube channel himself, and I'm going to put that in my description box. But his name is Chastin J. Miles. He's a great realtor. And whenever I am ready to buy my home, I will definitely be utilizing his service. He was very professional, very thorough. Just a quick little shout out. And no, I'm not getting paid to say none of this. I mean, I had good service, so I'm going to share it with you. If you're trying to move to the Dallas area and you're trying to either buy a home or rent a home, Chastin J. Miles is your guy, okay? All right. So now finding a job. So I know this video is a little bit long, so I'm going to try to wrap it up with this. I told you guys it was a lot of things. So now finding a job. Now, I started my job search prior to me moving, and you could use things like Google job search. You could do Indeed, and I think it had other couple of ones. But the ones that I used was I searched Google job search, I checked Indeed, and also another thing that's very popular, is getting more and more popular, is job recruiters. These are people who you find whatever field you're in, you find a recruiter in that field and they find jobs in that area, and they're the one who set up interviews between you and the person and the whatever companies. Or they interview you and they'll hire you for a company. They have the recruiters work different ways. So these are just options as far as job search. So I know I went over a lot in this video about moving across country. I really hope that it has been helpful. Please go ahead and drop me a comment. Let me know what you thought about some of the things I said in here. Or if you have other suggestions or tips about moving across country, let people know. Just go ahead and drop it in my comment section. Again, go ahead and subscribe to my page, like this video, share this video. And again, you guys, my name is Dr. Sharifa Clark, and it is Live Your Life Friday. I live my life by moving to where I wanted to move to. And despite all the little bumps in the roads that came up, even though I planned it to a T, I was able to overcome those bumps, and I was able to successfully move. Glory to God. So have a happy and blessed Friday, you guys, and talk to you guys soon.